Hi everyone, it's Hayley and I'm just going to do a video today that is a bit different to the ones that I normally do. I know I've got a lot of other videos to catch up on and I will get to that, but I wanted to do this video because it's a bit different and I've been meaning to do this one for a couple of months since Caius was born. And I just watched Courtney from Kyle and Court do this one about the meaning of her newest child's name. So I wanted to do, I thought, well, get on the bandwagon, do it now, you know. So I'm going to tell you about how we named our boys. If you are a follower of mine, you know we have two boys and they have, I love their names, I really love their names. So a little bit of a, I guess, kind of has to be a bit of a backstory to this. I'll start off with our first son, AJ. Now AJ's actual name is Alexander John. Alexander is his first name and John is his second name, his middle name. We call him AJ. And there's a specific reason for this. When my husband and I first got together, very quickly into our relationship, we were talking about baby names, children names, and probably about 6 months into our relationship we had picked out a boy name and a girl name. I'm not going to tell you the girl name in case we decide to have another child and it happens to be a girl, but the boy name we finally agreed on was Alexander John. Now my husband and I have very different tastes in names. I like ones that are a bit unique, a bit different, not completely out there, but you know, a bit different, ones that you don't sort of hear a lot. Whereas my husband, he likes traditional names, classic names. So we had a bit of a debate, but there were traditions in both of our families that we both wanted to recognise. And you right, honey?
Alright.
And so yeah, so in my family, on my mother's side, her dad's name is Alexander, and as more generations have come into the family, every firstborn son has had the middle name Alexander. And there are a lot of sons in this family, and I wanted to continue that and have Alexander as the middle name for our first boy. But in my husband's family, the firstborn son, the middle name is that of the paternal grandfather, if that makes sense. So my husband's father's name is John, and my husband's middle name is his paternal grandfather's first name, if that makes sense. And he wanted to honour that. So I didn't feel like I could call my son Alexander or Alex or any other sort of shortened version of that, because you know my grandfather is still very much alive and he gets called Alex and sometimes Alexander, and then I know quite a few Alexes and Alexanders of both genders, so it was a bit too common in that way. So I said, well, why don't we call him AJ? Like, just straight off the bat, yes, Alexander John is his proper name, but call him AJ. And from day one, that's what he was called. I don't know if you heard that, it's a weird noise from the neighbour's house. So yeah, we decided on that. So I wanted to use Alexander because my grandfather it still is, just absolutely my number one father figure in my life. He filled in the gaps when I needed it. My parents didn't have a good relationship, and my grandparents pretty much sort of raised us while my mum had to work when she was a single mother after my parents divorced. And so we spent a lot of time growing up in their house, and you know, I have 100 times more memories of my grandfather growing up than I do my dad. And he filled in the paternal gap until my mum married my stepdad, who I now call Dad, and you know, they both walked me down the aisle when I got married. But yeah, so the name has a lot of meaning to me, as do the qualities of my grandfather that I want to instill in my sons, both my sons. So yeah, there's a lot of meaning in that way. So that's how we named AJ. When it came to our second son, it was a little bit different, because I said to my husband, can we please not have a traditional. When it came to our second son, it was a little bit different, because I said to my husband, can we please not have a traditional first name? Can we please have something that's a bit different? It's not, you know, quite a classic name or a traditional name, but I don't want something that's completely out there. So we wanted to we wanted to acknowledge, I guess, quite a few people.
What's blanket?
You have a blanket. Oh, you have a cuddle. Okay. With Caius's name. Caius's name, he has two middle names, Carter David, and they hold a lot of meaning. His first name doesn't really hold a lot of meaning. It's just a name that we both really liked, and we just got really attached to it really quickly, even before we found out we were having a boy. But as soon as we found out we were pregnant, I said we need to find a name for a boy. We had the middle names, but we need to find a first name. So his first name is Caius, and I might have touched, come and sit here with me. I might have touched on in earlier videos how we got his first name, but we were going through names, and we sort of wanted a name that had a k or a s sound to go with Carter that came after it. So careful, honey. So it would sort of flow. So I was rallying off names to my husband. He was going, no, don't like it, you know. And then he said, what about Caius? And I said, how's it spelt? And he said, K-Y-U-S-S. And I was like, what? And I was like, where did you get that from? And he's like, it's a heavy metal band. I was like, oh, okay. And I said, I like the name, don't like the spelling. So my husband jumped onto Wikipedia and put in Caius in various spellings, and C-A-I-U-S was the spelling that I really liked and I really wanted. But my husband was like, no, I want K-Y-U-S-S. And I said, I don't want that. Like, we're going to have to find some kind of a different spelling. I wrote down, I think there must be about 12 different spellings of the name. And we went through them all, and we finally agreed on K-A-I-U-S. And I thought, cool, we agreed on that spelling of the name. And then I was 30 weeks pregnant, and my husband said, I want to go back to the C. I think we should go with the C. And I was like, oh, really? So we changed it to the C. And I mean, I think it goes really well with Carter David, Caius Carter David. And when we announced his name, everybody loved it. Everybody thought the name was really cool. And yeah, but Caius is actually the first name of Julius Caesar. Except it was spelt with a G, and I think it probably was pronounced with a G sound. So I think the C sound and spelling and pronunciation is probably a more modern version. So we consider that we have Alexander the Great and Caius Julius Caesar. So I've got some historic meaning in that sort of sense. His middle names are purely family. So Caius's first middle name is Carter, and that is my maternal great-grandmother's maiden name. And it has a lot of... Carter is quite popular these days for a first name, and I never wanted it for a first name. I wanted it as a middle name. And I love the name Carter. I've always sort of reserved that. You know, I wanted to use it in some way if, you know, I ever had a child, a second son. So Carter was actually the first of my maternal great-grandmother's family to come over to New Zealand from England in 1840. So we're a very young country. So this was yeah, like they were the first lot to come over. So that's where that meaning comes from. And David is my husband's side, so we sort of pick one each. And it is after his uncle, who was his most favourite uncle ever, and who never had any children of his own. So that's that. So our boys' names are, I just love them. They go really well together, and I just think, even though we picked them well in advance before we found out if we were having a boy, before we even saw what they looked like, I could not imagine their names being anything else. Like, I look at AJ and I think I just could not have named you anything else. Like, and I look at Caius and I think, you know, I could not have named you anything else. I knew his name was going to be Caius, and I knew it really cemented it for me when I saw him on the anatomy scan and they got a full face. It was all sort of kind of alien looking, but I saw like he looked straight at me sort of kind of thing, and I was like, not yet, it's Caius. So we were to have another baby, which I'll talk about in another video, and it was a boy. I really don't know what we would name him. I have no idea. It sounds a bit silly, but I sort of feel like we've honoured who we want to honour as far as male relatives and family meanings and everything. And our boys, we have a girl's name that we've had picked out since we first got together, which was nearly 6 years ago. So we've had a name picked out for a girl's name picked out for 5 or 6 years. So I'm going to keep that to myself though, just in case we do have another baby and it's a girl. But yeah, so that's how we named our boys and where their names come from and what they mean to us. And I feel like the names aren't just names, that they hold a lot of sentimental meaning, you know, for my husband and I, and they hold they hold a lot of history. They hold a lot of history. I think you know, it's a cool way to be like, well, look, we named you after this guy because, you know, he was smart and he was kind and he was loyal and loving, and, you know, we hope to instill those values in you, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, yeah, I just like our boys' names, and I could not imagine them being called anything else. So yeah.